If you had $75 to spend on a bottle of fine Bordeaux, where would you put your money? Pessac-Léognan or Saint-Julien? At this price, you are no longer choosing between good and bad wine. You are choosing between two completely different interpretations of great Bordeaux. When I first started building my cellar decades ago, I asked myself exactly the same question. Which appellations, which estates, which bottles consistently delivered more than their price suggested? Two names kept coming back: Château Pape Clément and Château Léoville Barton. I have bought both across multiple vintages, opened them countless times with friends and family, and there are still two wines I would happily buy today. The interesting part, recent vintages still retail for around $70 to $75, making them some of the best value fine Bordeaux you can buy. In this video, I will compare two bottles from my cellar, explain how differently they taste, which food they suit best, and ultimately, which one I would recommend, depending on the style of Bordeaux you enjoy. And one final thought before we begin. While you are still discovering your preferences, buy 3 or 6 bottles rather than a full case of 12. The cellar should evolve alongside your taste. Although both belong to Bordeaux's left bank, Pessac-Léognan and Saint-Julien couldn't express Cabernet Sauvignon more differently. If I had to simplify them into one sentence, Pessac-Léognan is about smoky elegance. Saint-Julien is about classical balance. Pessac-Léognan, located just south of Bordeaux, Pessac-Léognan is unique because it produces both world-class reds and dry whites, although reds remain the dominant style. Its history stretches back to the English rule of Aquitaine between 1152 and 1453, when these wines became known as the original claret. The region is home to Château Pape Clément, founded in 1252, Bordeaux's oldest named estate. By the 1660s, Aubryon had already become Bordeaux's first internationally famous chateau, long before the Medoc reached its own golden age. Curiously, however, Pessac-Léognan wasn't officially created until 1987. Before then, these vineyards belonged to the Grave appellation and were often referred to simply as Au Grave. Among all the Grave estates, only Aubryon was included in the 1855 classification, where it earned first growth status. The wines are often recognized by their smoky, earthy character, elegant structure, and remarkable balance. Saint-Julien. Saint-Julien was one of the first Bordeaux appellations that truly captured my attention. The simplest way I can describe it is this. It sits almost perfectly between Margaux's finesse and Paulhac's power. For decades, that's exactly how people described it. The southern part of the appellation tends to produce more refined wines, while the northern sector leans toward darker, firmer expressions. It's the smallest of the Medoc's major communal appellations, with around 920 hectares under vine. Deep, well-drained gravel dominates the soils, with clay, limestone, and marl underneath, ideal conditions for Cabernet Sauvignon. The finest Saint-Julien wines combine structure, freshness, and elegance in almost equal measure. They age beautifully, yet rarely feel austere. The appellation is home to 11 classified growths from the 1855 classification. Now, let's look at today's wines. Both bottles come from 2008, a vintage that quietly exceeded expectations and is drinking beautifully today. Château Pape Clément. If I had to describe Pape Clément in one sentence, it would be this. It's one of Bordeaux's most luxurious interpretations of Cabernet Sauvignon. Founded in 1252, the estate entered history when it was acquired in 1299 by Bertrand de Goth, who later became Pope Clement V. After moving the papacy to Avignon, he championed viticulture throughout the region, helping shape what would eventually become Châteauneuf-du-Pape. In 1309, he donated the estate to the Archdiocese of Bordeaux, giving birth to the name Château Pape Clément. Although several excellent wines emerged after the Second World War, quality became inconsistent during the 1970s. Everything changed in 1985 when Bernard Magret purchased the property. Extensive investment transformed Pape Clément into one of Pessac-Léognan's benchmark estates. Thanks to its generous proportion of Merlot and its thin gravel soils, Pape Clément often combines roasted, smoky complexity with a surprisingly plush texture. The nose opens with ripe dark fruits, plum, smoke, roasted coffee, baking spice, crushed stone, and flowers. The palate layers black cherry, blackberry, damson, truffle, cinnamon, clove, and forest raw notes before finishing long and beautifully refined. While 2008 may not reach the heights of the legendary 2009 and 2010, it perfectly captures what makes this estate so compelling. Rich and generous, yet always beautifully balanced. For me, the freshness is what elevates the wine. Recent vintages remain remarkably accessible. The 2025 sells for around $75, the 2024 around $70, while the acclaimed 2022 is roughly $100. Château Léoville Barton. If Pape Clément represents modern generosity, Léoville Barton embodies traditional Saint-Julien. Its story began in 1826 when the original Domaine de Léoville was divided and Hugh Barton acquired what would become Léoville Barton. The modern era belongs to Anthony Barton, who took over in 1983 and completely reversed the estate's fortunes after the disappointing 1970s. Vintage after vintage, Léoville Barton became one of Bordeaux's most consistent performers. Today, the estate is led by Lillian Barton, together with the family's third generation, Mélanie and Damien. Despite its status as the second growth in the 1855 classification, Léoville Barton has always remained refreshingly modest in its pricing. The nose reveals dark fruits, sweet spices, cigar box, cedar, graphite, and delicate violet notes. The palate unfolds black cherry, cassis, apricot, dark chocolate, licorice, and vanilla over savory mineral notes before finishing long, fresh, and beautifully focused. Like Pape Clément, the 2008 sits in the shadow of its two famous successors, but it's an outstanding wine on its own right. Classic Léoville Barton, pure fruit, firm structure, wonderful freshness, and already immensely enjoyable, yet with years still ahead. The 2024 and 2025 vintages remain around $70 to $75, while the acclaimed 2022 now approaches $110. The verdict: these are two wines I have continued buying for many years, not because they are famous, because every time I've opened them, they remind me why they earn a permanent place in my cellar. Choose Pape Clément if you enjoy generous, expressive Bordeaux. Its higher proportion of Merlot creates a silky texture, layered plum fruit, and smoky complexity that works beautifully with roast duck, grilled salmon, and dishes featuring mushrooms or truffle. Choose Léoville Barton if you love classical Medoc structure. Its Cabernet Sauvignon-driven blend delivers cassis, cedar, graphite, and remarkable freshness, making it a superb partner for roast lamb, venison, or a perfectly cooked rib of beef. Personally, I wouldn't choose one over the other. They satisfy completely different moods. One reminds me why Bordeaux can be generous. The other reminds me why Bordeaux became legendary. And at around $75 for recent vintages, both remain among the smartest purchases I would make if I were rebuilding my cellar today. If you were building your Bordeaux cellar today with a limited budget, would Pape Clément or Léoville Barton make the cut? I would love to hear which bottle you choose. Let me know in the comment section below. You will find more of my cellar insights and tasting notes on Instagram. Massive thanks for watching today, and I will see you in the next one.